The world's biggest tech companies are being sued over child mining deaths in the Democratic Republic of Congo. A human rights group filed a lawsuit on behalf of 14 Congolese families. They accuse companies like Apple, Google, Dell, Microsoft, and Tesla from benefiting from child labor to mine cobalt. That mineral is key to powering batteries used in our cell phones, computers, and our electric cars.
CBS News launched an investigation into child cobalt miners in Congo last year, and foreign correspondent Debora Patta exposed the horrific conditions, and now she's taking a closer look at this unprecedented lawsuit.
Kids are still doing the unthinkable in the DRC, backbreaking work even for adults. But a world away in Washington, there's new hope for the children in a lawsuit filed against major American tech companies who use the cobalt. The suit filed against Apple, Google, Dell, Microsoft and Tesla accuses the companies of knowingly benefiting from and aiding and abetting the cruel and brutal use of young children in the DRC to mine cobalt. Cobalt is used in almost every electronic device powered by batteries, from smartphones to electric cars. 14 children who were injured or killed while mining are being represented by human rights lawyer Terry Collingsworth's firm.
We traced the supply chain back from the mine where the children were either killed or maimed and have traced it back up to these companies.
The suit calls for companies to take responsibility for child miners and their supply chains and change the way they source the metal. We contacted all 5 companies for comment. Apple said they've led the industry in standards and removed 6 cobalt refiners who don't meet those standards in 2019. Dell said it never knowingly sourced operations using any form of child labor and is currently investigating these allegations. Google, Microsoft and Tesla have not yet replied. At the beginning of 2018, CBS News traveled to the DRC. Here, children were lugging heavy sacks of cobalt to be washed in rivers. From as early as 4, they were picking it out of a pile, breathing in toxic fumes. We followed a supply chain where child-mined and legally mined cobalt were not separated. We told the story of one child, 11-year-old Ziki Swazi, who, thanks to the generosity of our viewers, was removed from the mines and given a chance to go to school, where he is now thriving.
So Debora Patta is joining us now from Johannesburg. So Debora, you guys were there on the ground 2 years ago. What have you heard about conditions? Have they changed at all?
Well, we've been speaking to our sources there who are working with these children, trying to rescue them from the mines. And they say conditions are as desperate as ever, that basically nothing has changed in almost 2 years, despite all these promises to reform the process. And it's very, very concerning, because you must understand that these children not only work in terrible conditions, they're not going to school. So they are not receiving an education. It is backbreaking work. You know, even adults battle with this hand mining. These children, some as young as 10, even 4-year-olds who can't carry their heavy loads, but are there picking the stones. Even the little ones on their mother's back who are really too young to work are breathing in these toxic fumes. They are everywhere you go. The United Nations estimates that over 40,000 children have been used in child mining. And if you consider that over half the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, that is very worrying indeed. And because of the murky supply chain and the fact that no real effort is made to differentiate child-mined cobalt from legally mined cobalt, it's very difficult then to assess where this cobalt is coming from, and it could well end up in any of our devices, from smartphones to electric cars.
And I think, Debora, that's the point that we are happy that you are hammering home to viewers and to people who are following your reporting, which is that there's a lot going on and we're close to the holidays and people are leading busy lives, but the fact remains that the lives that people lead are affected directly by what is happening in these mines, because as you say, they power these smartphones, they power electric cars, and so our daily lives are wrapped up in this industry. And as you've reported, there are young children that are being used to deliver this important mineral. And so, and on top of that, that, you're dealing with militias and rebel groups, and on top of that, the folks in the DRC are dealing with an Ebola epidemic. So how is that instability impacting this mining business?
Well, you know, consider the Democratic Republic of Congo is the size of Western Europe. It is a massive country. It is a country that in parts of the place are at war with itself. As you said, there are over 30 militia groups at any one time operating. There is an Ebola outbreak that has been raging on for, it's going to be coming up for 18 months soon, that they've been unable to contain. Over 2,000 people have died in that epidemic because of the violence. There is a measles outbreak that has claimed even more lives because of the appalling condition of healthcare and the fact that there is this violence and that people are unable to get to people to assist them with the necessary vaccinations to stop measles from becoming a deadly, life-threatening disease. And then on top of it, in another part of the country where all these minerals are being mined, the DRC should be one of the richest countries on this continent, you have child labor. And because of poverty, children simply cannot get out of these conditions because even if they're not being forced to do child labor, their parents or their guardians are sending them there because they so desperately need the money. So that entire system needs to be reformed. But with so many issues, the Democratic Republic of Congo, you know, simply doesn't get to all these problems and the situation is left unattended. It is a really, really desperate situation.
Well, you reminded us there in your story of that little boy who was helped out of that desperate situation, thanks to the viewers, because you guys profiled him, and it's just one child. But do we know where he is now and how he's doing?
We do indeed, and I think the hope is that this lawsuit will shine a light on this situation and hold tech companies to account so that they can change the whole process and the way cobalt is mined so that children should be where they belong, and that is in school. And through the generosity of CBS viewers, little Ziki was sent to school together with his siblings, and let me tell you, that child is thriving. We received these photos just this morning of Ziki in school where he's celebrating Christmas with his friends. That's him holding that truck there, having a wonderful time. I think it's one of the first times I've actually seen him smiling. And I think it shows that there is a power in shining a light on these children so that things can change. Their lives can be improved from the better. If people invest in this region properly, remove the conditions that enable these kids to be forced into child labor so that they can go to school. And when they are given that opportunity, look what happens. Look what happened to Ziki.
Yeah, that is amazing. I mean, he looks just sort of more, I know it's been 2 years, but he looks sort of more robust, more filled out, like just healthier. That's fantastic, Debora. Thank you so much.
A different child.
Yeah, completely.
Different child because of the difference that your reporting has made on his life, and for those who are now aware of this really dire situation there. Thank you, Debora, so much.